Hey guys, David Woody with Living Life Fitness. Today we are going to talk about imbalance and two focus of training, what that does to your body, some of the effects of muscular imbalances and bad posture, and basically how that impacted me as a young man, or young boy I should say, and solutions to those problems, okay? And this is coming straight off of the last video where we were talking about lightening the load when we are training too heavy, okay? So, imbalance, focus training, what is muscular imbalance? What we're gonna talk about today. Muscular imbalance is a discrepancy in the normal strength relationship between two muscles on opposing sides of the body, okay? So, a typical ratio for quads to hamstrings is about 50 to 80%. So you'll have 50 to 80% of the strength in your quads and your hamstrings. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. But basically these relationships, it's hard to tell downhill, but up here, if the front of my body is tight and shortened and really strong and overactive and my back's weak, I'll get into this rounded posture, right? And that's a no-go, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So the reason this muscular imbalance, this one, was happening in the training program where I was training was we were doing anterior chain dominant movements 4 times a week, and I'm talking heavy anterior chain dominant movements, and the big compound lifts were all anterior chain dominant movements. Anterior chain is just the muscles on the front of the body. A common malformation is anterior oblique subsystem overactivity. And the anterior oblique subsystem is the muscles that do this, squeeze your legs together, and the muscles on the front of the trunk that control these motions and a little bit of these muscles up in here, okay? So it's how we translate power from our legs while pushing, and that's pretty much it. So boxers use it like this punching motion. But those muscles get overactive when we use them too much and we don't do enough movements on the other side, like pulling and deadlifts, and the posterior oblique subsystem gets weak, and that is due to not using it, right? And that system is responsible for pulling and translating power through the legs. So if we're not doing enough of that, which we were only doing 2 exercises that did that a week, then you're definitely not gonna see the results you're looking for. So what happens when the anterior chain is short and the posterior chain is lengthened? You create bad posture in the body, okay? So you get forward head, you get rounded shoulders, your pelvis is really tilted. It's kind of weird, man. And your leg rotates inward maybe. So you look weird, all right? So I wasn't quite that dramatic, but I definitely saw this one, the rounded shoulders. So I was walking around with my thumbs towards my pockets all day long. And this creates limited mobility, pain. It's an unbalanced appearance, obviously. And that over time can create instabilities, which is what we are not looking forward to when we are talking about injury prevention, which is what this series is all about. So this, in concordance with bad posture, improper form, and daily activities of sitting, right, which also creates that shortened posture, creates a wide array of body problems, okay? So something I definitely noticed, because I had this, was my shoulders felt miserable. And when we started playing football and I started running into people all day long because I was a fullback and linebacker, my shoulders were not in the optimal position to succeed when hitting people. And that instability definitely exposed itself because I had multiple AC joint injuries throughout the season, and then just really a long history of pain in my shoulders. And then on top of that, really bad posture that I'm still fighting against, even though I work in a clinic that does chiropractic biophysics. I'm working on it, it's getting better, but it's not where it should be, okay? I have a hypokyphosis. The middle of my back pushes out. And there's a lot of effects of poor posture that I've learned since working here. And I've done some additional research on my own and found even more issues with bad posture. So I started doing traction again 2 weeks ago. So bad posture leads to accelerated joint degeneration and increase in stress. You have a 64% higher chance of developing heart disease, and you have restricted shallow breathing, which I've done a lot of research on breathing and optimal breathing, and if that's not working well, there's a bunch of side effects associated with that too. So already, joint pain, more likely to happen, bad breathing, more likely to happen, which impacts performance, and 64% higher chance of developing heart disease. That one was a weird one when I read that. I was like, what? That's crazy. Now, one study showed that for every hour spent folded forward, playing games, watching TV, mainly sitting, not like standing folded forward, but any position where you're like this, typing, then life was shortened by 22 minutes. Yeesh. So every hour shortened by 22 minutes. That's crazy. 6 hours a day lived 4.8 years less. 11,000 people were involved in this test. So it's not like it's a really small study. I mean, that's small compared to the large population, but there was plenty of studies done. There was one, I'm not sure where it was done, but they backed people up against a wall and measured the distance between their head and the wall, and they found a huge decrease in life expectancy associated with that posture. So guess what? Bad posture affects your long-term health big time. So you want to be addressing posture, and really the only way to do that in the weight room is make sure that you're training with a balanced program and not doing too much of one side of the body, okay? So, too focused, as far as like imbalance and too focused, it was too focused on the front of the body, and we did it for a whole year, and we did the same thing the whole time, which is something I talked about a lot in the last video. So the solution, like a really simple solution, would be to add a deadlift day in there, okay? So I would still like to have that rest day. So how do we involve a deadlift day? Maybe, you know what I would like to do? I would make it so that you did squats, then you did bench press, and then on Wednesday you did deadlifts, and you focus more on the back of the body. Maybe have like a lot of pulling exercises. Then you take that break day, and then on Friday we do cleans, okay, and work on power, and then maybe the next week we do swings and a snatch workout and different more explosive movements on Fridays, okay? So that's one solution. Other solution is vary movement, so design a different program every week, which sounds like a lot, but it's relatively simple. One day you could do supersets where you're doing a push and a pull exercise, push and a pull, and then the next day you do legs, and you do a front of the legs, back of the legs each day. And then the third day you're like, hey, we're gonna do cardio and work on speed and agility ladders and do core and nothing else. So those other ways to vary movement and still get that training, and especially at a younger age, it's more important that you're moving and that you're getting faster and that you're gonna not impact your long-term health, and you're gonna get stronger and more explosive, and that you're not gonna lose mobility in the process, which that does not happen when you're doing the same exercise program with no stretching every single day. Now, the last thing is integration exercises. So if I need to strengthen my anterior chain, then I should have more dynamic movement exercises with the cable machine, where maybe I'm stepping and pushing, like a punching. I'm translating power from my legs to my arms, which is more representative of what happens on a football field. It's not very often that you're laying on your back pushing like this. It's more often you're standing, you're fighting the other guy, and you're trying to push him. So weight sleds, like anything that involves this motion and moving with your legs and translating that power, chops, those are all good movement exercises. If we're trying to strengthen the posterior chain, then just take that in reverse. You pull sleds backwards, you pull like this on one arm. There's plenty of options. So that is what I would do to address an imbalance and too focused training protocol. Make sure you all stand up straight when you watch the next video, whatever you're gonna watch. And remember to eat light, move right, and sleep tight. Please like the video, comment below, and if you could be so kind, share the video to your friends who might be interested in this or who you think are beating the crap out of themselves in the weight room so that they don't get injured and fall out of it and get not where they want to be. So that's it. Have a good one. Bye.